Hi everyone, in today's Figma tutorial we are going to be learning how to create a super cool text cycle animation without writing as usual a single line of code using Figma. If you have ever wondered on how to make words loop on your website just like this, stick around to this video because it's going to be helpful for you. To create that text cycle animation, I did a little setup here. It's nothing much. Let me just explain everything we have here. So we have a desktop that is set to a stack. Then also this text that is inside of it is also wrapped in another stack. So the direction of the text wrapping the stack is set to horizontal, the distribute is set to start, then the alignment is set to center. The width of the stack wrapping this text that we have here is set to fixed. The reason why I set it to fixed is so you can accommodate the second text that you want to use to create that cycle text animation. We are going to be starting with bringing out all the text we want to use to create this animation. I'll be making a copy of this text, so Ctrl and D. If you take a closer look, you will notice that the stack that is wrapping the two texts is actually cutting off one letter out of the second one we copied. So we can always fix this because the width of the stack wrapping it is set to fixed. So we can just adjust it to somewhere around here. The second thing to ensure here is to change the color of the text we want to use to create this cycle animation down to 100% because I have to reduce the opacity of the text that we're not going to use to lay emphasis to the important one, which is the cycle text animation. So to create that cycle text effect, we have to make use of component variables. And for you to set a component variables, we have to first set this text to a component. So you right click on the second text, then create component. We'll be renaming this as, let's just go with cycle text. Inside this component canvas is where we express and bring out all the text we want to use. So if you want to make a cycle text animation of 4 words or 5 words, this is where you can express everything you want to do. Before we bring out other text to complete this effect, we have to change this variant 1 to a stack. Then for the width of it, we have to set it to fit content and the height also to fit content. The reason why I changed the width of this variant to fit content is this. We might have text that is longer than this text, I mean the present text, this text here. So for us not to waste so much time in resizing the frame to fit the text, we have to just change it to fit content. So no matter how long or how short the text would be, it's going to nicely adopt. So I'm simply going to select the second text, Ctrl D, Ctrl D. I think I'll be using one more. Let me just do this, one more. But before we progress in creating this cycle text animation, I want you to bear in mind always that if you want to create a cycle text animation, let the first text that is starting it also be the last text that is ending it. Don't worry, you understand better when we progress in this tutorial. But all I'm trying to say now that if you want to create a cycle text animation of maybe 4 extra text, just make sure that the name of the text that is starting it should be the name of the text that is ending it. This will help us to create a smooth transition from the first text to the last text and from the last text to the first text. So I'm going to be selecting 3 texts from behind. Just select this and change the type of it to absolute. So everything that we change to absolute is just behind this text. So next up, we then activate the left pin and the bottom pin. Also make sure that the left pin is set to 0 pixels. To bring out the 3 text that is hiding behind it, we have to set the overflow of the variant 1 to visible. So go down to your properties, you will see overflow and change it from hidden to visible. To bring out the remaining text, just select the same 3 text from behind, use your arrow key to just bring out everything like this. So I brought out the 3 texts. The 3 texts are actually in one, so I just drag them as one. So to then selectively bring them out, you have to select them individually and just use your arrow key to bring out everything out. So it's remaining one more text, so let's just select the second text there from the layout option and bring it out like this. After bringing out all the text, we are going to rename it to how we want it to be. So the second text, I'm going to rename this as scroll. Then the second one, I will change it to, let's just go with design. So like I said before, the first text is this text and what should be ending it is this text. So the reason behind this is for easy transition when this text is actually switching sides. So the next thing we are going to be adding is a second variant. So select the first variant and add the second one. So what we're going to be doing is to flip the present text on the variant 2 to scroll. So for you to do that, you select the present text in the variant 2, which is this text. Okay, I don't know why I even renamed this as this text because it's actually becoming confusing when we're pronouncing it. So by selecting this text, I'll go to the properties and change it to absolute. So just change it to absolute here. Make sure that you activate the left pin and the bottom pin. You then use your arrow key on your keyboard to bring it out of the variant 2 frame. So what we're going to do now is to place this scroll in the variant 2 frame. And for us to do that, we just have to select the scroll text, go down to your absolute and change it to relative, and it's just going to nicely jump into the variant 2 frame. For the remaining text behind it, just select it and drag it up like this. So the reason why I did it this way is that when we are transitioning from the present text on the variant 1 to the second text, which is scroll, we have to move one element up for the second element to accommodate into the second variant. So this is how we are just going to be doing it. So selecting the second variant, we are going to add another variant. So this is looking too close. Let's just space it out like this. So like I said, the present text on the variant 3, we are going to change it to absolute so we can be able to create space for this design to enter into the third variant. It's just that easy. So selecting the scroll, I will change it to absolute. Make sure that the left pin is activated to 0 and the bottom pin activated to same 0. So I'll be selecting this scroll text in the present variant 3 and this text which is above it. Using my arrow key, I can just shift both of them together at once to the top. So the next thing to do is to bring in this design text into the third variant, and for you to do that, we have to change it from absolute to relative, and it's just going to jump in nicely. So the third one, we just use our arrow key and shift it up like that. We'll be adding one more last variant for the last text of it. So select the third variant, add another variant. So we'll be shifting this just a little bit. For the present design text, we'll change it to absolute, activate the left pin, the bottom pin. So select the design, scroll, and this text, use your arrow key to shift it out of the variant 4. We then select the fourth one, which is the last text, then change it to relative, and it's just going to jump in. Let me explain everything we have done so far. So for us to change from this text to scroll, one text has to shift up, which is this text. So for us now to transition from scroll to design, scroll has to go up for design to enter. Then for us to transition from design to the last text, design has to go up for the last text to come into the variant 4. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is to connect this variant. So I'll be selecting the first variant, connect it to the second variant. For the transition, it's going to be appear. Then for the delay, I'll be going with 0.5 as the delay. So when I connected variant 1 to variant 2, do not also forget that variant 1 is acting like a master component. So whatever interaction we have added to the second variant will reflect on all the variants that we don't want this interaction to be attached to. So let me select the second variant to see if it's attached to another variant. Let me select the third one. Yep, you can now see this interaction is because it's coming from the first variant. So let's cancel this interaction because that is not what we want. Select the fourth variant, and yep, it's connected to where we don't want it to be. So you can also remove this from the interaction. So next up, you select your variant 2 and connect it to the third variant. The interaction is going to be appear and we'll be leaving a delay of 1 second. So let's just leave that as 1. For the third variant, to connect it to variant 4, we just have to do this. It's going to be appear, then the delay is going to be 1 second. For the last text, we are going to connect it to the first variant so that there can be this infinite loop of this text when we actually preview it. So select the fourth text and connect it to variant 1. For the interaction, it's going to be appear, and for the delay, remember that we set a delay of 0.5 when we're starting the first interaction. So I'm still going to leave 0.5 as the delay. By previewing this, you see the interaction actually worked in a way. It's just that everything is acting so disorganized. So the illusion I was trying to create, which is actually playing out, is each text is moving up for the second text to come into contact, then the second text is going up for the third text to come into contact, then the last text is transitioning into the first text to start the cycle animation again and again. So let's fix this whole thing here. We are going to be removing all the unwanted text that we don't want. So the important ones to us are the ones in each of the respective variants. So the one in variant 1, we need it. The one in variant 2, variant 3, and variant 4 are the most important. Any other one, it's not really that important to us when we have created this interaction. So to remove all those unwanted text, we have to change the overflow of the variant 1 back to hidden. So go back to your properties and look for overflow and change it from visible to hidden. This will then hide all the unwanted text we don't want. So by going back to our design, let's preview it from here to see if it's actually making sense. So it's working, it's just that it's shifting from the left to the side, the left to the side. So let's just fix this whole thing that's happening here. Let's look at the properties panel of this component. So the width of it is set to fixed and the height of it is set to fixed. So this could be the problem why the text is just moving from the left to the right, because it's not accommodating the length of all the text of the component. So we're simply going to change it from fixed to fit content, then for the height also to fit content. Let's preview this one more time to see if it worked. So by previewing this, you will now see we have our perfect cycle text animation. But if you take a look at this, you will notice one thing, that the transition of the last text to the first text is a little bit too fast. So let's see what we can do about this. So head back to the component canvas. For us to create that smooth transition from the last text to the first text, we have to change the transition of it from spring to instant. Just bear in mind that what we added reflected to other variants that we don't want to apply it in. So select the second variant, the third variant, and probably the fourth variant, and change it back to spring. So I just want the instant transition to be only on the first variant. So let's preview this to see if that will fix itself. And it worked. So now we don't have this fast transition of the last text to the first text. It's just moving in smoothly. So this is how you can create a cycle text animation in Framer.
If you like this video, smash that like button, comment down below what you want to see next on this channel, and don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, keep designing, and bye guys.